It's easier to volunteer. I'm telling you guys when I have to volunteer. Go ahead.
Okay. Dear God, thank you that we all joined here together again, and please bless that everyone has a great rest of the week and has a great confirmation class. Help Ella with her swim meet and her starts and any struggles anyone's having in the week. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you. All right, before we get started, Mr. Landon, what did you show today and how'd you do?
Good.
Good. Boy, that's descriptive. Thank you.
So descriptive. So descriptive.
All right. What did you show today?
2 heifers and 1 steer.
2 heifers and a steer. And how did you do?
I got 1st place on 1 heifer. Got 4th place on the steer. And I think I got 3rd on the other.
Well, good. All right, I guess the next thing was, are you happy with it? Good.
Until Friday.
Until Friday.
I got to show my steer Thursday.
Okay. So is the steer getting sold on Thursday? Okay. The heifers? They go home with you. Okay. So we're selling the steer on tomorrow. Okay. Cool. All right. Ms. Lacey, we are working on, this is the question of the day. Favorite fair food? She can't decide. Danny wanted all of it.
I like all of it.
Gotta pick one. I can tell you the red velvet funnel cakes are in the lead right now. But the eye roll was the my daddy's cheesecake on a stick. That got us drooling. So just.
I don't know.
All right. Still can't figure out why anybody wanted deep fried Oreo, but that's just.
It's delicious.
It seems like it would
Now-
take the Oreo.
Now stick an Oreo on a bag of chocolate. That's different.
Yeah, that would be different. That would be pretty good.
Okay.
That'd be
Now
amazing.
that is gilding,
All right.
really.
All right. So let's get started. What is a story arc? And remember, you guys can use the notes from last week. Open your binder this way. I could keep them in there. This isn't memory work. This is in here. Okay. All right. What is a story arc? Since that's what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. All right. All right, Danny, we'll let you go first tonight.
The middle of the story and when it starts to turn around.
The middle of the story and when it starts to turn around. What about the beginning of the story? That's not in it?
That.
Okay.
Gotta have that.
Okay. Say it again then.
The middle of the story and it turning around.
Okay. And the story starts to turn. All right. Jillian, you want to add to it?
Like this, how the story goes, like from the beginning and then to the climax.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. Those. Right. It's that sweep of the story, how the story's going. Remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about the story sweep of Frozen. Got it? Okay. In here. Jog your memory. Okay. Who can tell me, again, you can use your notes. Who can tell me in one sentence what the story arc of the Bible is? Answer.
Jesus dying on the cross.
All right. Well, that's a nice, good Sunday school answer. All right. All right. We talked about it last couple of weeks. Yes, Miss Lacey.
Jesus comes down from heaven to earth and saves from sin, death, and devil.
Yeah, I'll take that. Save us from sin, death, and the devil. Okay. To what? Save us from sin, death, and the devil, but what am I? You're right? If this is sin, death, and the devil, then this is, the opposite is we'll take that. Life with who?
God.
Thank you. All right. Yes. The line we've been using in here is this. In here, how I've been phrasing with you is this story, how God takes, you know, in Genesis, right? How God starts the book off and everything is perfect in the Garden of Eden. Man sins, and then it's a story of how God is using individuals to redeem, to give life, to save His people and His creation, and restore it back to what it was. And you saw that in the last book of the Bible, Revelation. Okay, with me? Got it? Everybody got it?
Yep.
Okay, you know, this is one of those things I'm going to over and over with you on this, what this story is. I need you guys to catch this. Okay? Going in. Because this is the thing, this is the pattern we're going to have for the whole year, is for have you guys catch what this story arc is, and what it means, and how things are fitting into the story arc. Okay? So, review. This is straight out of last week. Okay, we answered these questions last week. What is a covenant? Landon.
What do you call like a bowl of hat?
A what?
A bowl.
That's how they ratify a covenant. It's nice you remember that. Okay, but what is a covenant?
A contract.
Okay, a contract. In this case, it is a contract. How? Between who?
God and us.
Okay, in our story last week, it was specifically God and.
Oh.
Very good. I say, guys, you can use your notes. Okay, this isn't math class where you got to remember everything off the top of your head. Okay, notes count. Okay, in here. All right, so last week we talked about the covenant with Abraham. Thank you, Maddox. Right, covenant with Abraham. Now the question is in here. God made 3 promises in His covenant to Abraham. And we spelled them out specifically, and we talked about each one of them. Who can tell me any one of them? All right? Jillian. What is it? Land, right? Okay. Lacey.
Great nation.
Great nation, what's that mean? Remember? We talked about a specific story that tied into that. Who remembers the story that tied into that? Danny, what was the story that tied into that?
Jesus born, Jesus dies.
Very good, because that's a little later than this, all right? Great nation, Abraham, all right? How was God building a great nation through Abraham? What? Somebody. What? The church, eventually, right? Abraham. What?
Disciples.
No. Oh, I heard. Somebody, what did you say over here?
Isaac.
Isaac, right? Remember the story of Isaac? The promise to Isaac coming in? Remember the story we wrestled with, right? In here. What did God tell Abraham to do to Isaac? Kill him, right? Okay. In here. Right, so how this works out in here is Isaac. That's not how you spell it, so don't quote me on that. All right. Somebody from the guys' table over here. What's the 3rd promise? Use notes.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Love to.
Right. Blessings to who? What?
Abraham.
Alright. Is that alright? I mean, somebody get it? Blessings to who? To Abraham. Abraham will be blessed, but the blessings to Abraham are going to everyone. Okay? So that includes who? Everyone means who?
Us.
Thank you! Alright? Everyone means us, and we're going to be, what are we going to do? We're going to be blessed, but we're also going to, right?
Be a blessing.
Yes, thank you! Be a blessing, right? Right? Got it? So we've got be a blessing. These three promises in here. Land, great nation, and blessings to all people. I want you to remember those. You need to remember those because the story as it progresses, you're going to see God working these three promises coming out. Okay? In here. So, remember this slide? Those are here last week. This picture, okay? I kind of had to shrink it and make in here, do a little bit on it, okay? Made a little. Wow, that is small, isn't it? Ooh,
Blurry.
Well,
yeah, that one's not quite as focused as that one is.
It is.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. So, we've got over here, we've got this is the story arc that we've been starting with, right? We talked about this grand story arc in here. I'm going to use my highlighter over here, back and forth, all right? We started here with, we talked, right? The creation of Adam and Eve, right? The promised land, everything is great. Followed the sin, the promise in here, okay? The promise was who? Jesus, right? See, you're catching it with me. Promise of Jesus in Genesis 3. All right, we're over here, guys. Okay? We talked about this story arc in here. It's this redemptive story of God is how He's restoring His creation, His people from this. We talked different languages, how we use that. All right, from over here, how this is where we're going. This is this broad story arc that we're going to put fitting the pieces in. Okay? Now, what's the next piece? Yes, speak up. Abraham. Okay? Right. This is the next piece. This is the piece that we talked about last week in here. Is the coming of Abraham, the covenant, and the sacrifice of Isaac. Okay? So what God's doing here, all right, is God comes in and says, all right, we're going to, in here, this creation and my people here have sinned. We're going to restore them, bring them back to life. Compare that with me in here. Now to do that, in a great big sense, we made a promise right there, right? Promise that a Savior, one who's going to, Jesus is going to come here, in here. But now we're going to sit here and see how God's going to start this story and bring that to fulfillment. And He sits here and He comes in and He says, we're going to start with the guy by the name of Abraham. And you're going to see that it's through this story, you're going to see, guys, is that it's not what you're doing to fix this problem, it's what I'm going to do to fix this problem. And the first thing you saw on here in this story last week, the first thing in here is God's going to solve this problem, right? is that the first problem was that Abraham didn't have any children. And God solved that problem by giving Sarah Isaac. Right? Everybody with me? All right, you clear? Over here, you guys got it? So, okay, this is like I said, this is a process. All right, by the time we get into Christmas time, you're going to have this stuff cold. All right? We're still working on the next stuff, but you'll have this stuff cold because we're going to, believe it or not, we'll do this again next week. Okay, you guys got it? And you're going through, guys, over here, guys, say we got it? Okay. All right. Let me kick it over to video. All right. It'll pop up for me. These pop up. Yes, okay. All right, we're skipping one for the sake of being able to get through it. Don't catch up on it, all right?
In the beginning, God created the universe, and within it, a planet called Earth. God's Spirit hovered over the dark and empty surface, speaking life into it. Light appeared. Sky and land split from the oceans. Trees and plants grew. Days and nights began, and all kinds of creatures filled the earth. Humans were formed in God's image to continue God's work. Things were really good. But soon, humans decided we want to live our way, not God's. In their struggle for control, selfishness and violence filled the world. So God started over with just Noah and his family. A few generations later, God made this covenant to a man named Abraham. The land around you, as far as you can see, is now yours. Your family will be as many as the stars and will be my blessing to the entire world. Years passed. Then miraculously, in their old age, Abraham and his wife had their only son, Isaac, just as God promised decades earlier. Later, Isaac had twins, Jacob and Esau. Then Jacob had 12 sons. The youngest, Joseph, moved the family to Egypt, saving them from a famine. There, they grew into a large nation, a people called to be different, to remind everyone what it looks like to live in God's ways.
After Joseph and his brothers died, the population of Israelites living in Egypt exploded. It grew so large that the new Pharaoh was fearful that they would form an army against Egypt. So he made the Israelites slaves, forcing them to make bricks all day long. Then Pharaoh took it a step further. He issued a ruling that all newborn Hebrew boys should be killed. Soon after that, an Israelite woman gave birth to a son. Fearful he would be killed, she put him in a basket and placed him in the Nile River. The basket floated downstream and was found by Pharaoh's daughter. She raised the boy in Pharaoh's palace as if he were her own child. She named him Moses. Years later, Moses saw an Egyptian beating an Israelite slave. Moses became angry and murdered the Egyptian. Fearing for his own life, Moses fled into the wilderness where he became a shepherd. One day while he was tending his flock, he saw something incredible. A bush that was engulfed in flames but was not burning up. Then Moses heard God's voice coming from the bush. God had seen the suffering of the Israelites and wanted Moses to lead the people out of Egypt. So Moses went back to Egypt and met with Pharaoh. He asked that the Israelites be given a short break from their labor to hold a festival to worship God. Pharaoh not only denied the request, but made the Israelites' work even more difficult to punish them. But this was just the beginning. To prove that God was on Israel's side, God brought great disasters called plagues on Egypt. God made all the water of Egypt turn into blood, filled the land with frogs and insects, sent diseases to kill the Egyptian animals, gave the people terrible sores, and brought terrible thunderstorms and terrifying darkness. Then God sent one final plague. God protected the Israelites by giving instructions to each family to take a perfect sheep, sacrifice it, and put its blood on the door frames of their houses. The Israelites did what God commanded. At midnight, God moved throughout Egypt, and every firstborn son, including Pharaoh's, were killed. But God passed over every house that had blood on its doorframe. Pharaoh was so overwhelmed that he practically begged the Israelites to leave. So in the middle of the night, after living there for 430 years, the Israelites left Egypt. However, Pharaoh once again changed his mind and sent his armies after the Israelites. They chased them for miles until finally they trapped the Israelites at the edge of the Red Sea. But God instructed Moses to strike the water with his walking stick. When he did, a strong wind blew across the sea, creating dry land for the Israelites to walk across. After they reached the other side, God caused the water to crash back down, drowning all of the Egyptians who were following close behind. The Israelites journeyed far away from Egypt. Along the way, God took care of them, giving them quail in the evenings and flaky bread called manna in the mornings. Many times the Israelites complained about their living conditions, but Moses would remind them of God's goodness and continue to lead them toward the land God had promised them.
Be right back. Okay, so what's everyone's favorite part of that story? Mine has to be the Red Sea. That's like my favorite part of that.
Okay. I apologize, something at, I had for dinner did not set well, so. I should have bought it, so, okay. Here we go, all right. Somebody tell me the story. Somebody give me a 2-minute version of the story. Thank you, Kennedy.
So like,
Let's start in the middle. I don't care.
so like, the Israelites,
You're doing fine. Keep going. Lauren, can you help her? All right. We'll wake up asleep. All right. Who can help him? Yeah.
Okay, so like, Pharaoh sent something out saying that like all the baby boys had to be killed.
Okay.
And so Moses' mom put him in like a basket and sent him down like the water thing. And then, sorry, I don't know whether it was like a stream
All right.
or whatever.
Okay, as you're fine, keep going.
And so then Pharaoh's daughter found him and like treated him as
Okay.
his son. And then he grew up and like he saw one of the Egyptians like beating one of the Israelites and he killed him. And then so he like left. And then he saw like the burning bush and God talked to him. And then God told him to go like see if Pharaoh would like let them like
Okay.
go
All right.
learn about God and stuff.
That's good. I'm going to stop you. Who else wants to finish out the story? All right, Abby.
Where did she live off of?
Moses is back in Egypt.
There. And he like tried to reason with Pharaoh, but he didn't
Okay.
The 20.
Plagues, all right. The last plague was?
Killing
Yeah.
Passover.
Passover, right. Okay. Put a brain on hold. Thank you guys. You guys did great, all right. Brain on hold a second in our story here, all right. Think back to last year in Mr. Jim's class. He was talking about communion. Remember on Monday, Thursday, the last night of Jesus' life, remember what Jesus was doing that Monday, Thursday. You know what he did, right? He did what?
Prayed in the garden.
Before that.
Food.
Right? Yeah, what?
Last Supper.
Did the Last Supper, right? Gave us communion. What was he doing right before that? Remember the story? Yeah.
Wasn't something Passover?
Yeah, he was celebrating the Passover. Okay? We're celebrating the Passover. Okay? It was that important, that celebration coming in. Okay? All right. Very good. Let's do this in here. A little review. No particular order. All right? No particular order on this question. In here. You've got coming in, right? You've got this story arc that we've been looking at here. Who has God been using in this story arc so far? People. All right? Yeah.
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve. Okay? All right? Landon. Moses. All right? That's the easy one, right? That's the one we're talking about today. Yes. How about one of the guys over here? Hey, can you give me one? Abraham! Very good! Right? Okay. If he can give me Abraham, give me the next one. Falls right after Abraham, yeah.
Sarah.
Sarah, yeah. Okay. Okay, keep going. Yeah. Isaac. Okay. I'll spell it right this time. Okay. Okay. Anybody else you want to put in this plan right here? Okay. Okay. All right. Let me get your stuff out. I'm going to talk for a few minutes here on the story and catch you up. I want to just go in and you can take some notes on these as we go along. Kind of fill you in on parts of the story. All right? Going in. The story covered, right? The story and the review got you the Israelites down to Egypt, correct? You got Abraham, Isaac, Joseph. Are you with me on the story of Joseph? Heads, yes? Heads, yes? Guys over here, we got heads, yes? No? Okay, all right. So they're now in Egypt. I am at Exodus chapter 1. If you guys want to open your Bibles to Exodus chapter 1, I'll give you some references as we go along. And I'm not going to tell the whole story in detail, but I'm going to fill you in on some of the pieces.
Exodus chapter.
Exodus chapter 1. Genesis, Exodus. Somebody get it? Sing out a page number.
97.
Okay? Oh, by the way, I'm going to start bringing these to class. If anybody ever wants a Post-it note for your Bible, my Bible at home has Post-it notes all over it. Okay? Yeah. Okay? This is like the greatest invention man has created to read the Bible. It's putting Post-it notes.
Common thought, those.
You know?
They were the glue that seeps on them. It was supposed to be a really strong glue, but
Yeah.
then the scientists
It was a
found
mistake.
that
Yep.
was-
All right.
And created Post-it notes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to segue there. Thank you, Jillian. Right? This was a mistake. Right? In a few weeks, yeah, this was a mistake. Because they were trying to make glue that would stick hard, and they messed up and had this stuff, and they were thrown away, and somebody figured out, hey, you can make these things that work great. In here. It's one of those examples, and you're going to catch this later, okay? God is real good about using mistakes. Okay? God is real good about using his mistakes for his purposes. Okay? You're going to see that one over and over. Just read through. All right, Genesis chapter 1. There's three parts of this story I want to talk to you about. The first one starts in chapter 1. So, the Israelites are down in Egypt. And everything had been going great under Joseph, somewhere in the neighborhood. In the intervening 400 years, Pharaoh and the leaders of the Egyptians turned against the Israelites. And the Israelites became slaves. What they did was they also, we talked about in here, all right, this great nation. I want to pull that out to you, right? In the story, if you remember backing up from last week, we didn't cover the detail in here, this great nation, right? We started with Abraham, and Abraham had how many sons? One. Isaac, right? Isaac had how many sons? Two. All right? Going in. All right, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob have how many sons?
No.
12. Now it's 12. No, it's not 3. All right? Yes.
Did Abraham have two? Like,
Oh, very good. You're just split hairs with me, right?
well, I
Actually had more than that, but that's... For the sake of this story in here, this covenant, he had one son. Okay? He had 12 sons, all right? And so there was 12 sons, and their families that went down to Egypt with Joseph. 400 years later, it says there were 600,000 men. There's probably about 2.5 million people. All right? That's a pretty good growth rate in 400 years. All right? From about, 30 or so to 2.5 million. So they're very populous. They're going in here. Pharaoh thought that they were going to take over the land, and they were going to rebel. And it's that great story in here that goes in, is that Pharaoh orders that all the Hebrew boys should be killed. But they say here, and Moses' parents stick him in a basket and place him in the Nile River. Welcome to the Nile River. This is a picture of the Nile River. Okay?
It goes the wrong way.
What do you mean? This is very good. I know what you mean. Did I know what you mean?
All the rivers in the world go one way and it goes the other way.
You know which way this goes?
North.
Yes.
Fine.
Right?
Thank you for the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Right? No, Danny makes a good point, right? This is one of those geography trivia things. All the major rivers of the world flow south, except this one. This is the only major river in the world that actually flows north. Okay? Go figure. Okay? In here. But this is the Nile River. What they did is they took Moses, stuck him, you know the story you heard in here, straight to me. They took Moses, stuck him in a basket, flew to the Nile River. Pharaoh's daughter found him, raised him as his own. Moses spent 40 years in Egypt living as a prince. He was going to be one of the princes of Egypt, one of the rulers of Egypt, eventually in here. A story comes in is that he comes, and this is in chapter 2 now, I'm with you. He comes in chapter 2, and what he says in here is there's this exchange between an Egyptian is beating a Hebrew, and Moses kills the Egyptian. And then Moses runs and flees, okay, because it would have been, the penalty would have been death. And so he says here, and he runs. Now I'm going to show you where he runs to in here. This is Egypt right in here. This is the Nile River, Danny's north flowing Nile River. This is Africa, Sinai Peninsula, and this is the bridge over here. This is technically Asia right in here. Starts over in here. All right, so you with me? in geography. Here's the Nile, here's Egypt. This is where he would have lived in here, down in Alexandria, down in Memphis, all these big cities along in here is where Moses would have been living in here. The Israelites lived over here, and it's called the land of Goshen in this area in here. Moses comes and finds, kills Moses. It says it flees to Midian. Notice Midian is clear over here. All right. One of the just geography things about doing this, in here, this is the Mediterranean Sea. Most people, when they traveled in and out of Egypt, they would travel this way because there was water along this way, fresh water. This area out here, in Moses' day and still today, is open desert. All right, if you've ever seen pictures like Lawrence of Arabia, you see pictures of just open desert, just sand. And this is just sand and rock out here. Not have been a whole lot of stuff going in, growing out here. Right? Moses flees over to this area right in here, and he lives over here for some 40 years. Over here in Midian. He finds a bride over here in Midian and is living over here in Midian. And he comes in here, here's your putting in a basket picture for you. And he comes to, and I'm going to back you up because there's, show you on the map, and then I'll go back, take you back forward again. All right? He comes, the story says he's shepherding sheep, and he leads sheep down in here into this place right in here. It's Mount Sinai or Mount Horeb. Now, why he had led sheep over here from up in this area down here, we don't know. But it says this is where he was. Okay? Apparently leading, they found some food down here and led them into this area down in here. And he takes them down, and he comes in, for those of you adults, this is from the Charlton Heston Ten Commandments movie in here. Best I could do. I want you in Exodus chapter 3, if you would please. Okay? Because this is where the story, part of the story I want you to pick up on here, going in. All right? So it says Moses was around in Midian. He was over in here. He came to Mount Horeb. We talked about that. Verse 2. Angel of the Lord, that's a phrasing in here, reminding us that is God himself in here, appearing as an angel, appeared to him in a flame and a fire, out of fire in the midst of a bush. There's how the movie described it, right here. And you see it was being burned in here, and God calls to him, Moses, come here, and Moses says, here I am, and he says, don't come too close in here, and he says, one of my favorite lines in here, in the story is in here, God stops him and says, make sure you take your shoes off, because this is holy ground. Don't wear your shoes in the presence of God. All right, one of these days, I'm going to have enough guts in here. We're going to have you walk into church on a Sunday morning and have everybody take their shoes off.
That would not.
All of us.
All right?
Everyone.
Everybody.
No.
All right?
We should have confirmation.
Take your shoes off. I did this with Saxony. When Saxony was here, I did that with Saxony, actually. So I had to take your shoes off at the door. Now, there's probably only about 25 or 30 at the time. Not 200. But I had them take their shoes off as they were coming in. It's holy ground. We humble ourselves before God and coming into holy ground. All right? So he comes in, and God says in here, remember now you're talking here, right? Is Moses is sitting before Almighty God himself. You guys with me? Grasping this, all right? All the glory, all the majesty of God. Moses is front of here. You see him on his knees. Notice he's got his shoes off. In here, coming in, down on his knees, in front of God. And God says in here, Moses, I'm going to send you to Egypt to deliver my people. You're the one I've chosen. All right? Everybody knows it's part of the story, right? What do you think Moses said?
No.
What?
No.
Who else wants to try? Yeah.
It was like, why me?
Yeah.
I'm wanted dead in Egypt.
What's that?
I'm wanted dead.
Yeah, you're getting it. All right. This is the great story. Part of this story in here is that God sits there. Moses is seeing God face to face, and God says, "Go to Egypt." In here, and he sits there and he says, help me with the verse, somebody. All right. He says, basically send somebody else. Okay. But verse 13, this is another part I want to catch you in on. Oh, principal's here.
No. I'm so sorry.
Everybody say hello, Heidi.
Hi.
All right.
Hey.
Look at chapter 3, verse 13. So God sits there and says to Moses, "Go, you're going to go to Egypt." And Moses says, hemming and hawing, says, "I don't want to go." And God tells him to go again, and Moses sits there and says, "Okay, but if I go there, they're going to ask me your name." So what's your name? And he says, what's the name in 14? Somebody read it. Yes.
It says that.
Back up and read 13 too, Jillian, I'm sorry.
Okay. Then Moses said to God, "If I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am." And he said, "Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you."
Okay. God's proper name is I am. Alright? So I've asked you your name here, you're going to tell me your name is? No, I mean your name. Aiden. Moses asked God what his name was, and God said, "I am." Okay? Now I'm going to give you a little in here. I took 4 years of Hebrew so I can do stuff like this. Okay? So you're going to have to bear up with me on here. Alright? Hebrew this was originally written in Hebrew. Alright? The word I am in Hebrew looks like this. Okay? Right? I'm going to get you there. Okay? This is from the verb, basically, that means I am. Okay? We can also call it to be. Okay? It's a verb. It occurs in other places. It occurs as a verb. Simply as, you're with me in the verb to be, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. In here, the verb to be. Right? Now they had this little thing that they went on in here because this was the divine name. The Jews would say, we would never say this name. Okay? So they used a word, I can't remember the next letter in here. It's bad, okay? I'll write it in English. You remember the Adonai?
We won't.
Okay.
You just write what you write.
Okay. Came out as the word, spoken as the word Adonai. So anytime they see this, they use the word Adonai. Okay? When they were translating the Bible into English for the very first time, back in the time of your King James Bible, the translators wanted to have some sort of mechanism so you could know that this was what this word was in the original. And they came up with this. When you see the word Lord in all caps in your English Bible, that is this word. Okay? This is God's proper name. This is God's given name. This word, you asked a second ago, this word is pronounced Yahweh. All right. Some people have mistranslated it and misspoken it and called it Jehovah. That's not correct. Okay. All right. Yahweh is this name. Okay. So he sits here and says, what is God's proper name? The way you say this is Yahweh. God's proper name is Yahweh. All right. Everybody with me? Okay. Good. I'll give you a little piece here. All right. Flip over to Gospel of John. Hold your finger in Exodus and flip over to the Gospel of John. All right. All right. Gospel of John in here. John chapter 18, John chapter 18. Okay? Sorry, I didn't have the reference in my head. John 18. As you're getting there, I'm going to fill you in where I took you, right? This is the Gospel of John. In here, John has finished his life. We have done Passover. We've done the Last Supper. We've been in the garden in here. Jesus has been praying in the garden, going in. And now they've come to arrest Jesus, according to the Gospel of John. And he sits there and he says they come out, and it comes in verse 3. So Judas, having procured a band of soldiers and some officers from the chief priests, Pharisees, went there, Garden of Gethsemane, where are lanterns, torches, and weapons. Jesus, knowing that all would happen to him, came forward. How did he know all would happen to him? He's God, right? Yeah. He knows what's happening. If you're God, you know what's going on. All right? Jesus is God. Jesus knows what's going on. Knows all what came forward and said, came forward to them. Jesus walks out to them and says, who are you seeking? In other words, who are you looking for? And they say, Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus said to them, I am he. There's only one problem. That's not what that word says in Greek. That's not what it means. They write it in English because it doesn't make sense otherwise. Okay? Jesus, they walk up to Jesus, and it sits there and says, they ask, they're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus says, Yahweh. He sits there and he says, I am. He's using the word nobody ever used. And he's basically sitting there telling them, point blank, who are you looking for? Yahweh is right here. Okay? Yahweh is right here. He's using this word in two senses. He's using the word sense, I am, and he's using this word in the sense of this divine name. Now, this is what I love about this passage in here. Look at verse 6. When Jesus said to them, I am, right, this, I am, they drew back and fell to the ground. Remember this, Exodus chapter 3? We just talked about? When Moses was in front of the burning bush, where was he? What? On the ground. Why? Yeah, it's holy ground. He's there. He's in the presence of the Almighty God. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus uses this divine name, and what do they suddenly realize? What's that? Yeah, he is. They fall on the ground for the exact same reason. I guarantee you, if the Almighty himself walked through this door right here, we'd all be on the ground too. That's what you do when you come in the presence of the Almighty. Okay? That's the tie from hopefully helping you tie from Exodus 3 back to the life of Jesus. Okay, you with me? Everybody with me? Down over rabbit trail. Let's go back to Exodus 3. All right, finish off Exodus 3 here. Exodus 3 and 4, this back and forth goes in between Moses and God. Moses, and I'm going to switch names here. Moses and Yahweh. With me? Moses and Yahweh is going back and forth here, and it sits there, and Yahweh's saying, Moses, you're going to go, and Moses is going, no, I'm not. And Yahweh's saying, Moses, you're going to go, and Moses is saying, Moses replies back, well, you can't make me, and God says, I don't want to try me. And he goes back, not literally. But he sits there, and there's going back and forth here, and I love what happened in, look at the end of chapter 4, about verse 15 and 16. He sits there and says, go up to chapter 4, verse 10, Moses says, I can't do this. He's saying, I'm not eloquent, I can't speak, and what's going on in here. And God says, I'm going to send you a helper. You're not going to have to do this alone. I'm going to send you a helper. I'm going to send you your brother Aaron's going to go with you and help you do this. Now go. You're going to be able to do this. Now the interesting thing in here is at the end of this passage, notice at the end of this section in chapter 4, verse 17, Moses never does tell Yahweh he's going to go. He never comes to the point and says, I'm going to go. But if you look in the next section, in the very next verse, Moses goes to his father-in-law and says, I got to go eat. One quick application for you, and I'm going to give you an assignment. One of the things it sits here and does for us, at times you don't feel like doing this, God's going to be with you. God's going to be with you. Okay? Even though at times in here you say you can't do this and you're not going to do it in here, just like Moses, you go off and do it. We go out and live as disciples. You know, things we've been talking about at church, right? Love God, love others, make disciples. You say you can't do this, fine. Jesus says, I'll be with you always. That was one thing Pastor John said last Sunday. I've been saying a lot, but in here, going in and doing it, okay? As we go out, and Moses goes out and does it. And we go out and do the same. You good? With me? It's a lot of information. You guys got it? Pretty much? Pretty much? Okay. I want you to look at the back of your sheet. Alright? This is your group activity. I want you to work on this. Work in your groups. Alright? There is a lot more in this story. From where I stopped talking to where the chapter section leaves off. We're going to pick up next week at Mount Sinai. But there's a lot more in this story. What I want you to do is I'm going to give you each group an assignment. Chapter, assign? You guys want assign? Chapter 12, chapter 14, chapter 16. Okay? What I want you to do is I want you to read through the story either quickly or in detail. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to work on this, so you can't spend like forever on it. Read through the story, and then I want you to draw a picture on this sheet of the story. Alright? Draw a picture on this of it on this page, because I'm going to what we're going to do is we're all going to go around. When in chapter 12, we're all going to gather around this table, and you guys are going to explain the story of chapter 12 to us. You got it? Everybody got what they're doing? You guys are doing 12, you guys are doing 14, you guys are doing 16. I've got Do the best you can with our work. I've got some markers up here. You can borrow them in here. All right? Okay?
Yeah, I will read it. They set out from and all the congregation of the
Okay, just wait a minute. What?
between Ellen and Sinai on the 15th day of the second month after they departed from the land of Egypt, and the whole congregation of the against Moses and Aaron, and the people of Israel said to them, what that would that we had died by the hand of the Lord of the land of Egypt, sacrificed and meat pots and ate bread. You have brought us out into this wilderness and told us assembly.
Just going back and covering this stuff. Next week, we're going to get this again.
Then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I am
Story
about to
arc.
rain down heaven for you, and then the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them, that they will walk in the Lord, and not come to this day to make a sure that they can.
Well, see, I get jazzed
They
doing this.
gather it.
My adrenaline level
So
comes rough
Moses
when
and
it's
Aaron said to the children, I know that it was the Lord that
all right.
you out to the land of Egypt, and in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord. He has heard your grumbling against the Lord.
Either read it out loud or read it yourself, however you guys want to do it.
That you
I'm not
grumble
real.
against us. And then Moses said, you and the evening, need to eat, and then the morning blood shall show, because the Lord will show you grumbling, that you grumble against him. Then Moses called grumbling which is not against us, but against the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, say to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, come near before the Lord, for he is grumbling. And as soon as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, they watched toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the house. And the Lord said to Moses, I have heard your grumbling of the people of Israel, saying, in the twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall eat bread. And you shall know that I am the Lord your God. In the evening, quail came up and broke the camp, and in the morning the dew lay over on the camp. And when the dew abundant, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine thing, like fine stuff from the mountain. When the people of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, it is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather of it each one of you, as much as you can. You shall take an omer. I was just going to bottom the Egyptians, according to the number of persons that each of you has listened, and the people of Israel were gathered, some more, some less. And when they measured it, it was in the more. I guess it's not from the measure. Whoever gathered much and nothing left of them, who gathered little had no lack. Each of them gathered as much as part of the Egyptians.
And Moses said to them, no one any it over until the morning.
Well,
They did not listen to
I've got
Moses.
6, and
Some
I've got
left
3
part
tables.
of it, and in the morning,
What's that?
redworms
And different worms and snakes.
Okay.
and Moses was angry. I can go over there, I just really, send your heart to God.
All right.
We'll also be proud.
It's like maybe like a leader.
You could do like 4.
So what should we draw?
Yeah.
What should we draw?
Was.
Yeah, that's your eyes, sorry.
What else? You got those from before you just did.
They put little bacon together and all those like they kept some
So they laid in the sides of the wing as much as and
Close counts. All right. Close counts when you gotta start drawing.
Yeah, draw like kind of that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
You draw lines.
Just explain, you should gather together on the Sabbath every day. On the seventh day, some people went out together, but they found none. Call the Lord to seek and wonders how long this will be. See, the Lord is giving grace to therefore the 60 days.
And you're gonna hate this.
For 2 days. Remain. No one is. It was and the taste of
Chapter 12.
Moses said, "This is what the Lord has made. Let there be one omer of it, and he told throughout his generations, so that they may eat the bread which I fed you in the wilderness. I arise on high and my breath, and Moses took Aaron and make a jar, and put an omer of manna in the throughout your generations. As Lord commanded
Exodus instead of eyes. That will even size their dead. Not as fundamental.
40 years.
So they have to have exercise. Oh, and have like one guy that's like walking or just.
Is a 10th part of.
So while he's doing that,
Okay, oh, I can try. I'm pretty good at drawing.
Draw the picture. Draw the story and picture.
Let's draw the
Here, why don't you
ground.
guys move down here so you
Probably
can-
need the ground. No, let's just draw it like this.
We can make stick people. Because not everybody.
Use your talents.
We should do it like here. Alright. So, Danny? Well,
Well, I think
You can do like grounds, I guess.
And then you have to see like there. But then I think we should have like,
Yeah.
something like a little bit higher than.
I mean, they were all like this kind of.
So just draw what we're supposed to do.
Wait, they can't go up the other side.
This
Yeah, and then like after
Just let Lauren know.
right prevents.
Alright, don't spend too much time. You gotta be pretty quick.
Okay, alright, now.
Who are you drawing? What do they call it? Who do they call it?
Israel.
People.
Here's the thing that you guys got the picture. Just put it down.
Alright,
Maybe we should draw like.
so what else?
Maybe we should
Yeah,
draw like a
story,
crab
let's
with
put
the
it down.
bread, I guess.
Some manna falling from heaven.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't get any extra credit for being me.
Alright, so Abby's making clouds. Skylar, you're gonna make some. Is it in the sky or on the ground?
Let's draw like falling.
Both? Okay. Alright.
You want to make them green?
The manna or the clouds? We only have two colors. Just stick figures. Julian, stick figures. You don't got a ton of time.
I like to draw people front people and then heads.
Okay, there we go.
To represent a group,
Yeah.
who else should you draw instead? Including the Israelites.
Moses.
Moses and
Aaron.
they are
Like the leaders.
disciple brothers.
No,
I know this.
no.
Brother.
Yeah.
Brother.
Oh, the doorman is like some
You
random.
wanna tell it in sign language, you can.
Well, we're taking silence class, so it's a family, so
Alright,
There we go.
so she's learning it faster than you are.
you should see Shane.
We learned the percentages.
Yeah.
Well, you did, I'm still.
Do you want to make someone green?
Yeah.
I should like
Drunk.
make like the little falling pieces.
Well, Skylar was the one that did Anna.
Alright, so you do that, okay.
Just make it green.
But it's green manna, even though it's
This?
white wafers.
This?
It tastes like honey. Communion wafers don't taste like honey.
No, they taste like cardboard's a good word for it.
Okay,
Yes, you mean write a story?
how about, I'll draw some people. I'll draw Moses, I guess.
You draw Moses and this is.
Okay, I'll draw like
How's it spelled?
We can make them.
Let's do red.
Got it?
Is you can just.
Okay?
Oh, sure.
Or tell it, you don't have to. Okay? When we get everybody together, you're gonna have to explain the story. We're gonna ask some of these questions, so make sure you know what's going on.
I need at least someone in the
Okay?
sheet.
I need to,
Or maybe some like barbecue ribs.
Okay, why don't you go to Aaron and Moses?
I'm working on it.
Oh, Abby's doing Moses?
Then Moses.
What about the testimony? You guys draw a picture of the testimony? The jar,
Yeah, like in between, I guess.
in between Aaron and Moses?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give you about 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
Maybe 2.5, I'm generous.
He needs a little stack.
Are you gonna make the
You need
Israelites,
green, you
are
need
you gonna
green
make the
man.
Israelites grumbling or?
Wait, I know, like,
What you need?
that makes them look like,
Or they're grumbling together?
you're gonna put some over here? Here, do that.
Who's missing from your picture?
I don't know. God?
What's that?
This group will, they like group activity.
God?
So that's,
How you doing on the emergency?
every year it's different, so this one's gonna be all, we like group activity, so.
We should make more money. Maybe I should think, maybe those could be the Israelites.
You're kind of missing God somewhere. Wherever God.
Maybe like somewhere in the
Remember, do it this way, you're gonna have to tell the story to everybody else.
That's not.
A sunburst?
Right, you guys got it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're gonna have to tell the story, alright, from this. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay? Alright.
Need like some more, like trees maybe? But it's
You
like,
guys know your
it's like
story?
in the wilderness.
Alright?
Well,
Because of the questions we're gonna ask, we're gonna ask you some of these questions here.
Alright, that's what
Okay?
Yeah.
So this is kind of the start.
Order. Need green. I'm not yellow. Where do I put it?
We have some tree
Like, do a big area.
tops. The land of milk and honey. That's, what are you doing, Abby? You making bamboos?
Like, just do a big, this is a big block here, I'm just like, what did you do that? Tree. Yeah.
Building on top of each other now.
Oh, now the little bird is talking. It's still alive. Can I do the
Yeah.
Those trees aren't right.
Are you gonna make some more trees?
Yeah, make that real
Does Abby add extra trees?
Yeah, that'd be an interesting question.
No, we don't need more people.
In
Oh, you like the angry lightning bolts coming from them?
Oh, not me.
I think we should like put like some more like falling bread.
Like just put.
Okay, one more minute.
I still have to draw. Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't look good.
What did that say?
Next time, don't overthink it, guys.
Oh, I need to look at this place.
Simplicity helps.
We painted like quotation marks around it just to say, dead.
Oh, I forgot to tell.
Oh,
We have too many perfectionists at this table. Okay,
Well,
one
hey,
minute.
hey, okay, there we go. That'll work.
This is a dead.
What? I said that was where?
That wasn't. More angry lightning bolts.
There you go.
It's not as good as the first one.
Angry lightning bolts. That's okay.
5, 4,
We got
3, 2, 1. And.
1 and a half.
All right,
done.
1 3/4.
chapter 12.
Wait, that's the second.
Come on, ladies. All
Yeah.
right, everybody gather around the boys' table over here. All
Gather around, children.
right,
What are the first ones? Of course.
all right. Okay. All right.
We got lucky.
Come on, ladies. It's what's wonderful.
What? That's on my hands.
All right. Okay. Okay. Who from the guys' table is going to tell the story?
No.
All right.
No. No. No.
Hey, go for it.
Tell any part of the story?
Adults count as 4.
Okay, Danny, you start. You help draw this.
This is them slaughtering the sheep, the dead with quotation marks around it. And the executioner. So that's it.
Landon,
Oh, there's a door covered with sheep.
and what was that supposed to do?
Into the, or the end of. Thing out. What is it called?
Angel of death.
Play, angel of death.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are all the dead people that didn't put blood in
I mean, who was it though? Not everybody, but
the Egyptians.
Okay.
Firstborn.
so in the middle of the night, even Pharaoh's firstborn son was killed, and he said, "Get out."
We should have given them mustaches.
Danny,
That's them fleeing.
so in the middle of the night,
The
Okay.
that,
All
yeah,
right.
isn't it? Yeah, that.
So question for our guys' table here. We're in the story, were the people following God or disobeying God?
Which ones? The people that died or the fled?
I'm asking you the question, answer it how I want to.
The ones who were disobeying God died.
Okay? Okay. And who were the ones following God?
The ones that are alive.
And that's why they're first. That's okay. All right? So what was God doing in this story? What is the part of the story that only God was doing? All right? All right.
Providing direction to his people.
Direction to his people. Okay. How does this fit into this story of redemption of God saving his people? Right? Right? Because our story arc is God working to save his people, right? How does this fit into that story arc?
It's going to be away and survive.
Through what? They were saved because of the death of what? The death of what?
Lamb.
The Lamb. Right? By the blood of the Lamb, they were saved, right? So So that comes to us, right, in New Testament. You're saved by what? The perfect Lamb, who is?
Yes.
And you get
Saved.
saved, and how do you receive that? The means come to us in what sacrament? Oh, I'm not telling you floppy, you didn't know this one,
Oh,
right?
wait.
What sacrament are we talking about here? Thank you. Right? By saved by the blood, right? The body and the blood. Thank you. All right. Anybody have any questions for him? Back here.
It was kind of obvious with all of us.
Okay. Come on, guys. Okay.
That is big picture.
All right.
That's a unicorn.
Yeah, that's totally.
Okay.
But it should
Make it right and
be
see.
eating butterflies and eating rainbows.
So everybody describe like
That's a Pegasus.
Okay. Let's not thinking.
Lauren, you have
Alright.
the first one. So here are like the people going to the Red Sea, and there's chariot with a horse, a unicorn chasing them, and trying to keep them.
Okay.
Okay, and then in this one, Moses with his stick, he like parts he parts the Red Sea, and then this is all the people, and it kind of looks like they're running that way, but they're actually running that way, and they're running.
Okay.
This one, they're walking across dry land.
Okay.
And this is after he had the Red Sea go back to his normal state, and all of the
Okay. All right.
You guys stole our idea.
All right. So. Okay. So in this story here, what was God doing? What was the part that God was doing here? Okay, he parted the sea. All right. Were the people in this obeying or disobeying?
Which people?
God's people were obeying him, but the people are trying to get him back to Egypt were not.
Okay. All right. And what was the faith thing that God's people had to do?
Trust Moses.
Trust Moses and trust.
God.
Okay. How did that look? What visual thing did that look? How'd they have to trust him?
They would have to go to business, and that he would help them.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Where's the spinning ball of fire? Giant
What?
spinning fire.
They didn't draw that. It's okay.
Fire.
It's their story. I didn't ask him to give them a detailed movie. I was gonna, all right, just like you guys. All right. So in here, so what sacrament's this? Yeah. Right. They're saved how? They're saved because they did what? The Israelites were saved because they did what? This table. The Israelites were saved because they did what?
They walked through the water.
They went through the water, right? Right? We are Christians because of what? What makes us part of the family? What? This table. We're Christians, we're part of the family because of what? Right, we've been
Baptized.
thank you. Right? Right? So here's your story arc. in here. We're talking about how it's fitting into the story arc. Here's your part of the story arc right here, right? As a part of the story arc in here, it's Israelites were saved because they went through the water. We're saved because we've been through the water baptism. Okay? Questions for me? Okay, next table. Ladies, good job.
Hello.
All right? I'll eat all your time. Okay? Tonight.
All right. So, after they crossed the sea and they were traveling through the wilderness, the Israelites got mad at, they were upset because they didn't have much food. So, and they were grumbling to Moses and Aaron.
This swirly stuff is the manna that's falling from the sky.
We didn't have any other colors. And that's God giving the men, and that's the men that they kept.
Because they were supposed to wait. Yeah. How much they were supposed to keep? They were supposed to keep some. They were supposed to keep just they couldn't. And then they were for the Sabbath. They were supposed to keep enough so that they could also eat on the Sabbath because they were supposed to work on the Sabbath.
Okay. So what are these?
Those are trees, like that's like the boundary to Canaan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So were the people here, were they obeying God or disobeying God?
disobeying.
Okay, how?
They were betraying him. They were being ungrateful.
Okay.
They were trusting him.
What was it that only that God was doing? What was the part that only God was, how God was acting in the story?
He was giving them bread.
Okay. All right. So it's not a sacrament. The other two had sacraments. This is not a sacrament. But where does this come in? There's something you guys do every day. You learned last year, right? In here, reminder of a New Testament reminder of this. Jesus brings this out in something you guys know. Let them struggle with it.
Bible?
Yeah, that's a good start. So what in the Bible? Max, you want to help? Max is going crazy over there.
I don't know. Daily bread?
Like, yeah, right?
So the other
They got this. They got this how often? Every day, right? The Lord's Prayer. We say what? Day our daily bread. Right? Okay. In here, right? You see in the story arc where this fits?
Yes.
Where does it fit then?
bread in the communion.
Yeah, I can go there, right? Right? It's how we are living our lives as followers back in here. Part of it says God is going to sustain us, right? Somebody said earlier, give us life in here, right? How God sustains us in this life. We talked about over here, we got Lord's Supper. We talked about over here, baptism that brought us into this life. And here we're talking about how God sustains this physical life. All right? Got it? Good job. Okay, everybody have a seat. All right? Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Good job. All right? I need my markers back.
Markers are up there.
I gotta these
Sorry,
markers. I had to
Skylar.
fight
I
for
thought
these
you were
markers.
Abby and it
So
was actually bad.
I keep them hidden in my desk.
I
So.
should have looked at her.
All right. I apologize. I ate right through your small group time, so in here. Maybe if leaders, you want to take a couple of minutes. The other thing I put on the tables in here, all of you, the youth should have gotten, it's the acolyte schedule. Okay, make sure you get that to your parents, so you know in here, you know the drill and the acolyte parents in here,
We know that Maddox has the Thanksgiving weekend on there. If anybody needs to trade a date that they're on, we're gonna get it back, so.
Okay, all right.
Good call.
Yeah, good call. All right. Here's having you a blessing for the last couple of weeks. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all. And God's people said?
Amen.